everybody. It's great to be here. I loved watching that video, which did loop 3 times, I think, but we all saw it. But it had a beautiful sentiment about the diversity of ideas here. And before we begin, I did just want to reflect for a moment on the situation that's going on in the world and right here in Texas. And at Accenture, we have an unwavering commitment to inclusion and diversity. And the laws that are being put into effect do put LGBTQ youth at risk, a group who already faces challenges every single day. And I wanted to take a moment to say that limited access to basic human rights like access to medical care is not what we stand for. It's not my values. It's not our values. So we will now get to the amazing women who we are here to talk to today. And first up is Dara Tracita. I'm so excited. I've already got to spend some time with her, and I love her already. And she leads marketing, communications, and membership at Peloton. Dara, come on out. All right. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Can we take a moment on the outfit? I said I'm so jealous.
Gotta rep the brand, right?
Right.
By the way, we have apparel in case you didn't know.
I do know, and my credit card reflects my knowledge. All right. So you and I were talking last week. You have a brand that sets the standard for experience, and you were saying that you have to market something and communicate about something that's all based on experience, but you don't know it until you know it. That's a challenge. How do you approach it?
So I think we think about it in 3 ways, right? First of all, there's what is experiential, what you actually feel. And one of the things that's amazing that we have is we have these showrooms all around the country where you can go and you can try the class. And because sometimes it's hard to understand and it's hard to comprehend. I'm gonna have a great workout from the comfort of my home that is just as good, perhaps even better than a workout that I have somewhere else. And many times being able to kind of try that for yourself is really powerful. But the other thing that we know is really powerful is hearing the stories of others, right? Hearing about other people's experiences. And I think one of the things that we have at Peloton that's so exciting is our incredible member community. Do I have any Peloton members in the house? We got some members in the house. All right, I see you. Thank you for being here. And our members are powerful because they share their experiences, right? And so people can see, oh, someone like me is able to lead a healthier, happier life. Someone like me is able to, be committed to fitness and actually stick with it. Someone like me is able to find joy in working out. And so I think being able to hear those stories is really powerful. And by the way, the one thing I'll say is not everybody's Peloton journey starts out with being a fan, right? Some people start out being skeptical and then convert. And so one of the things that we also do is make sure we shine a light on that as well.
Yeah, I told Dara I was a skeptic, but this isn't about my journey, although I could do one of your acts. All right, so what about what that matters to your members? You are in charge of membership, so you have to nurture and really stay close to what your members want and what they're feeling at the moment. How do you do that?
Well, we listen. So we listen to our members, and there's something I talk about a lot with my team. You said we did. So some of you might know, this week actually, we launched our Apple Watch integration, right? Which means for all of our devices with one tap, you can sync your Apple Watch with all of the metrics that we have. And that was something that our members asked for, right? And for us, it's all about that surprise and delight. So how are we listening to what our members are saying and how are we acting on them? Another one that we came up with was early in the pandemic, we saw that a lot of our members were getting together in these communities and they wanted to have those social networks on the platform. And so we created tags. Some of you might know, you might be using the tags, whether it's my Black Girl Magic tag or Peloton Moms, Peloton Working Moms, New Jersey Babes, whatever it is, right? You've got your tags and you've got your communities. And for us, it was listening to our members' behavior, using data, but also hearing their stories, listening to what they're saying, and being able to translate that into an experience that ultimately helps them in their journeys.
And I think with that, we have a video to play.
Dear stranger, you don't know me, and I don't know you. I don't know that you still dream of getting the band back together, or that your first love was cricket. I don't know that you fought for your country, that you're going to name your child miracle, or that despite them calling you chicken legs, you made it all the way to the top. What I do know
Peloton, pick up your pace.
is that in the 22nd minute,
Last set, come on.
when I have nothing left to give, and I doubt, it's you who shows up for me.
Give me a little more.
It's you who keeps me going.
We're in this together, Peloton.
So, dear stranger, really, we aren't strangers after all.
I love that. Beautiful. So that whole idea of coming together, so many brands evolved during, not even during the pandemic, the waves of it, the phases of it, the versions of it. That coming together, that being able to connect, how did you lean into that in your marketing and communications decisions?
So I think it all starts with what is your North Star, right? And what's your purpose? Why do you exist? And for us, it is about motivating the world to live better, right? Really helping people improve their lives. So when the pandemic first started, one of the things we did was just allow our app to be used for 90 days, right? I don't know how many of you remember what happened when all of us left work. I think I left half a Snickers bar on my desk, like I'm gonna come back and, be there. We all thought this was just gonna be, a 1 week, 2 week thing. And when we realized that this was something, our whole thing was people need to move. All of us exercise, being able to meditate, taking care of our physical and mental health is so important and it was so critical. So making sure that there was accessibility to that was key, right? And so we started out with that. And then other things we started to do was really increase the variety of what we have. Mm-hmm. So it's not just cycling or running. We also have yoga, we have Pilates, we have boxing. And being able to really provide a more holistic experience, I think has been really key and important for our members. But the other thing that's so critical at Peloton is community. Because the fact is, nobody, all of us, we might be on our own journeys, but we're not alone. And making sure that we were doing things that allowed our members and helped to cultivate community. So in my team, we talk a lot about, we're not trying to fake it, right? We celebrate what's real, but we want to find what's real. And we want to kind of like pour gasoline on it. We want to cultivate it. We want to grow it. We want to make sure that we are showing up for our members in a way that is authentically them, that we're meeting them where they are, and that we're creating and facilitating the ability for them to continue to connect and deepen their relationships with each other. So that's kind of what we've been really focused on.
And I noticed that you are the keeper of the creative DNA, because you do allow your community to lead you, but the brand's personality is very evident no matter what, so I'm a huge fan of that. Congratulations on your ability to do that. You told me last week, I was mentioning to Dara how much I loved their most recent campaign with the letters to Peloton, because that was me. Like, I saw myself in that. And you told me a little bit about the campaign, but also just how proud you were of your team, because the way it came together. Tell us a little bit about that.
It was amazing because, Peloton's been in the news, right? We can just agree with that. And a lot of our members were taken to social media and starting to share their stories, starting to say, hey, a year ago I called, or like 3 years ago I said this thing was an overpriced coat rack. Now this thing has transformed my life. Like, for the first time in my life, I've actually been able to exercise consistently for 3 years. Or somebody took to Peloton, I used to be that person. I hated Peloton people, and now I'm the queen of Peloton people. So our members take it to social and saying all these things and tagging me, tagging our founder, tagging other members of our team. And so, actually, these were some people on our brand team kind of came to me. They were like, we want to turn these things into an ad. And we don't want to do anything but just take exactly what they said, because many of them, they actually had those initial statements they had made on social media, right, on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, and then they had what they're saying today, and they were sending it to us, and they were like, we're just going to take those things, put it together, and that's the ad. And it was like really bold and really out there. And I remember talking to some of the folks on our leadership team, and they were like, that is really bold. You're going to just overpriced coat rack, huh? Not gonna edit it. Not gonna tidy that up. Not like, And equipment I will love, but only use part of the time. You're just gonna go there. And I was like, no, we're gonna take the unvarnished truth of our members and we're gonna shine a light on it. And it was incredible. It actually, not only did it rally the community together, it inspired the brand, it inspired prospects, and it also was meaningful for the team, right? Because that's what we do. The reason all of us get up every day, the reason we come to work is because we are a mission-driven brand, right? We are so focused on how we're helping people lead healthier lives. It's so core to the company. Every time we have our engagement surveys, like the one thing that we are almost, it's not 100%, but it's close, is always around mission and purpose. Because that's kind of the thing that unites us. And so being able to kind of shine the light on that was really powerful.
Okay, so let's talk about variety. You have a variety of equipment now. You have a variety of classes and class types. Celebrity instructors, blessing or a curse?
Blessing all the way.
There are big personalities. Dara and I were talking about how now it's kind of like a getting to know you game. Who are your favorite instructors? And it's very insightful based on who you pick. Tell me a little bit about, as you look at marketing, communications, and membership, how you told me this is all, they are themselves, 100% themselves.
100%. You know, I think authenticity is so key, right? It's so core. If you take a Cody Rigsby class, it is very different than a Matt Wilper's class. Can we all agree with that? If you know, you know, okay? If you don't, go Google it. But like, you know, because we allow them to be themselves. We allow them to show up authentically as who they are. And I think that's part of what allows people to have a connection. Because I even know, so when I'm low, I'm going to take a Cody Rigsby class because I will laugh and I will have a great time on the bike, right? And sometimes if I want to push myself, I might go to a different instructor. Maybe I might take a Robin class if I want to push myself and challenge myself. And I think creating the space and platform for our instructors to authentically show up as who they are is part of the magic of what happens on screen. Because I think if we were trying to box them or script them or tell them what to say, I honestly think the classes wouldn't be great because their full selves wouldn't be expressed. And so the members would not be able to form the deep connections that they have.
And if they were all the same, then your members would all inherently want the same thing.
And I think it's like different channels. You know, on some days you want this, some days you want that, right? And you might have your go-to. But I think that, you know, we have the variety of the instructors that we have. There's something for everyone. You know, like my husband and I, we have 2 bikes side by side and we like to ride together. And it's always like, what are we going to ride? I always, you know, he wants to do a little country ride. Okay, we'll do that together. And then he'll take my club bangers ride. And it's like Dara Tracita left. Dara Johnson just showed up. Kids out of the room, right? We're having a good time. And I think that there's a beauty in that. There's beauty in being able to express different and understand and experience different types of content.
So to do all of this, you have to understand the business. And I'm fascinated by your career. You've been a marketer in every type of an organization, and I know you have a strong belief in being that business partner before you even begin the marketing journey. Talk a little bit about the places you've been and how you think it deepen that commitment. Because I know you said that you would suggest to everybody, be that business person first and then lean into the marketing. How has your journey formed that for you?
Well, I think the creatives in the room can probably identify with this, right? I think there's certain aspects of the creative field that are very technical. And so people might not be like, oh, let me go and like edit that movie for you if I haven't done any editing before. But there's aspects of creative, you know, of the creative process that people think they can do. Any of you had those things? Like, hey, let me give you a line for that script. I was just driving and I thought this line that I just came up with in 20 seconds is the line, you know, even though like, you know, maybe I you know, code for a living, but I think I can do that. Whereas like for marketers, a lot of marketers, we're not going and kind of trying to tell other people how to run or do aspects of their business. Something I learned early in my career is that it's really important to establish yourself as an expert in your field. It's really important to establish yourself as a business person first so that you can kind of create those boundaries where your team is able to do their craft, right? And actually have the space to be creative. Because I think, you know, you want to be stubborn on vision and context, but you want to be flexible on the details. You want to give creative people space to thrive, right? If I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it, I might as well just do it myself, right? And so I think it's really important, you know, as a leader and as a marketer that I'm creating that space and creating that space for my team to be able to do the work. So I'll say throughout all the different places I've worked, I think one of the things that I've learned is that there's an art and a science, right, to marketing. And I've been really passionate about how those things come together. There's space for intuition, there's space for creativity, you have to do things you've never done before, right? I had never taken an ad out to say, here are negative things people say before, and then here's how they change their mind. But there's that intuition, there's that gut. And I think that there's space for that, but you can't say, oh, we're gonna put data to the side. You gotta bring those two things together. And I think that's where things like testing and experimenting can come to bear. So I think throughout my career, I've really been passionate about how we take the creative, artistic side, storytelling, right? The side of marketing that's intuition driven, and how we combine that with data. And I think that's where the power and the magic happens and the unlock happens for an organization and a brand.
Well, I also love the variety of companies you worked for. I think that sometimes we underplay how important it is to not, just stay in one swim lane. And I think you built different muscles along the way. So what about your team? You've been in this job since August of 2020?
Yeah.
And how much time have you gotten to spend with your team? How do you guys connect?
I love my team, okay? I'm sure everyone thinks they have the best team, but I absolutely love the Peloton team. My love for my team runs deep. And I try to, I spend time with my team every week for 15 minutes. It's called Stand Up. I get together with every single person in my organization. They come in, and it's usually virtual, but now we're in the office, so people are in the office as well. And we chat, we talk about all kinds of stuff. And it's kind of my way to update them on what's going on in the business, right? Things are moving so fast. And that kind of quick touch point, I think, has been very useful for folks in my team. And then, during times of change, like we're going through a period of change right now, I actually meet and sync with my core directs, our core leadership team, with a quick 15-minute sync every day. Because we're just in this season of change. We're not gonna do it all the time, but I think one of the things that I found is you can't over-communicate when change is happening. When things are moving really quickly, the thing that happens a lot is there's actually breakdown in communication. And then people don't know what's happening, and then it can feel, when people aren't in the know and they don't have that knowledge, they feel like they lose a little bit of power, right? And so I think communication is how you bridge that gap. And so for me, one of the things that's really important as a leader is that I'm communicating, that I'm accessible, that I'm making sure I'm keeping those lines of communication open.
I had the privilege of sitting with some of our local team members this morning, and one of them asked, you're spending so much time with all of us, how do you have that time? How do you make that time? You've got a business that is on the move, you've got a lot to pay attention to. You clearly have proven you are speedy when it comes to capitalizing on situations or addressing them quickly. What you're talking about takes time. How do you figure that out? What are you balancing that with?
I'm very, very particular about how I spend my time. But I believe I'm a people-first leader, so I believe everything starts with people. And I think my number one thing is to serve my team and to create that space for them to thrive. So on my calendar, I have blocks for my team. Because if someone needs me, I want to be able to be there for them. Yeah. So I have blocked out time that I keep open so that I can be flexible and available to my team. So that's how I do. I calendar it in. Because you're right, if I didn't calendar it in, it just wouldn't happen. I would be too busy. And so I have to intentionally set that time. The other thing too is, and I'm very real about it, but I think this idea of like, you can do it all, and you can't. Maybe you can, I don't know. Well, if you can't, please let me know how you do it all. But, from my experience, you can't do it all at the same time, right? And so right now, I'm like, focusing on my business and all the work I have to do there. I've got my husband and I've got my kids. And, I'm doing my volunteer work that I'm doing on my boards that I serve with. And, what has gone a little bit? I'm not doing as much of the, girl weekends. I've got that's gone right now. I look forward to when it comes back.
It'll come back.
It will come back.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm not doing too much of that right now.
All right, I'm going to ask Dara one more question, and then I know you guys all have the ability to ask questions. So if you haven't queued them up yet, get your questions in, because we're going to start taking those in about 1 minute. You mentioned the fact that what's your one, I always get asked, what's my one thing that I will not give up personally? And this is honest to goodness. I see people that know me. It is my workout every morning. It is my Peloton
like a good
workout.
Peloton member. I like that. That's a good answer.
That's where I get my energy from. It's where I start my day. What's your non-negotiable? You will not give up what?
I will not give up those first few hours in the morning. Like I am an early bird. I get up really early, and I try to create that time. I work out in that time. I pray in that time. I cuddle with my kids in that time, and I will not give that up, because that fills me up and lets me be able to go out in the day. You cannot give what you do not have, so I need to fill myself up, and then I can kind of pour into the rest of the day.
Are you on the Peloton before that?
I am on the Peloton
just
early
checking.
in the morning. I am, absolutely.
Just checking. All right, we have a couple of good questions up here. Now, we could both see them, but you don't know which one I'm going to ask yet. Okay, so let's start, because measurement does matter, and you mentioned data earlier. How do you measure your success in creating a meaningful experience?
So I think, there's a couple of things that I look at. I think the first thing that I look at is love, right? How much do people love that experience? That seems super, simple, but you actually measure that. We measure our member love. We measure our brand love. We want to understand, do people actually enjoy this? Is this something that they're really passionate about? Or does this feel like something that is optional? We want our membership to be essential. And so that's something that we measure. And I think that, for us, you're looking at different metrics, right? Not just the NPS, but like actual, love data, right? You're doing surveys, you're conducting research, you're looking also at just the data, you're using data science to understand what people are liking, which classes they're liking, how they're rating those classes. But that stuff is so key, and we have to obsess about it.
Yeah.
Because when we obsess about it, that's the only way you maintain it. If you take your eye off it, when you take your eye off experience, it's going well right now, so I don't think it immediately starts to depreciate. It's something that you have to intentionally focus on and continue to improve every day.
I could talk to you about that forever, because that data at people's fingertips is essential, and I could imagine in your brand, it's not like something you could look at annually or quarterly. You got to be looking at it all the time. Okay. Let's see. What's a rule you're glad you broke in order to get an idea into market? So we heard you say you did something that people were like, you're doing that, but did you ever have to straight up break a rule?
Yeah, I just was like, hey, we're doing this, and we're doing it, and I signed off on it.
Are you a permission, or what's that saying, permission, or?
Ask forgiveness,
yeah,
and
forgiveness.
you just put it out. I mean, the whole campaign was done in like less than a week. Like, if we had to go through the formal process, there's no way we could have done that. Another rule that I was glad I broke was like when I decided to do the clap back to the Sex and the City situation.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I'm doing this. I did it, I called my CEO, hey, we're doing this, I'm going, And he was like, all right.
Good
Go.
For
And we went, and I'm so glad we did that, because I think it's important. We are a company that's about improving people's lives, and we can't, we wanted to make sure, how things can get in social media, where all of a sudden we started to see medical misinformation. People say, cardio isn't good. No, cardio is good for you. Exercise is good for you. It's a critical part of leading a happier, healthier life. And so we were glad we did that. And speed is important. If we hadn't done it when we did it, well, we definitely wouldn't have been able to do it after that, right?
Yeah.
I don't need to go into why. But I'm glad I'm glad we broke that rule. I'm glad we pushed through. I'm glad we came out, when we did.
I love what you said earlier, because obviously you've got your own brand love. You're protective of that brand you're entrusted with, but you were also more mad, it sounded like, at the medical misinformation that was going on too. You're like, you're taking...
Because it's for the industry. This wasn't about Peloton. This is about, hey, exercise is good for you. Let's not allow anybody to say that exercise is not good for you. Let's just address that issue. And that was what I was most concerned about, right? Because I think those things are, you know how it goes. You got to protect things that are facts.
Now, what about the discovery process? And I love to understand we were talking backstage a little bit about, what you get access to. And again, for the creatives in the room, like, you have to really know where are things coming from in order to do well by them when it comes to marketing and creative and other things. So the discovery process, the innovation process, the product development process, how do you work with your peers and teammates to see what's coming and know how that's going to add to the experience you want to promise your members?
So I actually think it's kind of, it's sort of, there's three distinct phases of it that are kind of connected. And I think one is about mining information, right? Where you actually, you are mining, it starts with insights. You're going to figure out what does your consumer want. You're looking at the data, you're going in there, you're digging in, you're asking them, you're listening to what they're telling you, and you're pulling out information. I think the other side is about just dreaming and imagining, right? What could be possible? Because sometimes, if you ask people what they wanted, that quote where if you ask people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse, not a car. So you gotta kind of reimagine and think, you have to start with zero sheet of paper, and there's no boundaries, blue sky, what's possible. And then I think the third distinct part of that discovery process is where you make a hypothesis, you try it, and then it's not quite going how you thought. You don't just say, okay, no. You dig in to find out why. Because many times that can unlock something for you. And many times it's actually the thing that I thought wasn't important. Yeah. Guess what? That turned out to be really important. And the thing we all thought, ooh, this is gonna be a big deal. Like, nobody cared. Yeah. Really, nobody cared. Like, actually, nobody cared. So I think it's really important to have those three things where you're mining information, you're creating, wide space, big idea thinking without boundaries, without borders, and then, you're digging in to figure out why.
And how much control do you have? You were talking about change, and change is just insanely fast right now. And what you were dealing with as a business a year ago is very different than today. You were telling me about the trial period. Like, how much autonomy or control do you have over being able to say, we have to make this financial change, this product change, this accessibility change in order to be where our members and our future members need us to be right now, like extending the trial period?
There's something our new CEO says. He actually articulates this really well. He says, intuition drives testing, data drives decision making, and I love it. Well, because I've always kind of thought about intuition and data, but I never, when he said that, I was like, I like that. I'm gonna keep using that line. That's a great line. And I think for us, that's exactly how it goes, right? We have intuition about things. We can run different tests, but before we start scaling things, we need to make sure that we really understand what works and what doesn't work. So I think we can go very quickly, right, to launch something, try something. I think you actually have to go fast, right? If you're gonna go fast, try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, you can iterate. But before you start to scale it, I think that's where you need to make sure you understand what success looks like so that you can scale the experience in a way that makes sense, not just from the user experience, in one instance, but it's something that can be sustainable.
And say that for me one more time. Intuition drives testing, data drives decision making. Exactly. I love it. I love it. That's a good one. All right, good. I hope everybody's got that. Yeah, right? All right, good. Thank you.
It's a Barry McCarthyism, as I say that.
Any last thoughts for all of us? You are amazing and so much fun to watch. And I have so many people who are jealous of me because I'm here with you today. You've just been I
really want to meet those people.
Well, I already told her one is my sister who's giving me questions behind the scenes to ask. But thank you so much for spending time with us today. And I love the brave decisions that you're making. And you're like, hell no, I'm doing it.
Thank you so much. One thing I want to leave you all with, I want you to take a blank sheet of paper after this meeting or whatever and think about an idea that you think is crazy and take it back wherever you work. Just do that for me, will you? All right.
I love it. Thank you. All right, you guys. Next up, Amazon Prime Video. Their global chief marketing officer is Ukanwa Ojo. And she is going to join me now. I hope. Ukanwa, you back there? It's beautiful. Not yet?
I know.
Oh, video first. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Go right ahead.
Wait,
video first.
Is that it? This can't be the end. You know the feeling. It's like, what are you supposed to do now? Especially when it's a show you've been really, really into. How can it just be over? Now imagine there's a place where there's never truly an over. A place where entertainment never ends.
All right, I'm sold.
Fun, huh?
A place for fans, stans, amateur detectives, sports freaks, history buffs, rom-com lovers, newbies, critics, and everyone else. A place where your passion can keep going, and you can see where it takes you.
See you there, jackass.
Where you can plunge into a world of endless entertainment. Fans can get immersed, view, buy, Rent, subscribe, and share the most popular entertainment in the world, all in one place.
There are so many crazy things about what you just said.
Hello?
¿Qué pasa?
Tell.
That's Prime Video, where one app is the home for it all. After all, even though everyone's different here, deep down, we're all nerds at heart.
My God, this thing is enormous!
Which means we love what we love.
Reporting for duty.
And we aren't afraid to follow our passions to the ends of the earth. One season leads to another and beyond.
Permission to come aboard?
But now, it's up to you. I mean, I'm just a voice on a sizzle reel.
Noted.
You all are the ambitious, tuned in, engaging, charming nerds at heart. Bring your love for innovating, your fiery enthusiasm for taking fandom farther than ever, because what's coming is next level.
Check this out.
Eat me, I'm excited.
You looking for payback? Looking for the whole gang. Venga!
Join us. See where it takes you.
There's wonders in this world. We can feel it. Kanwa. I feel like I have to go home and watch all that.
Okay, good. That's good. That's good. Hi, everyone.
Ukanwa Ojo, the Global Chief Marketing Officer of Amazon Prime Video and Amazon Studios. All right, that's a fun job.
It is.
You
I have
have-
to say, it is a really, really, really fun job.
All right, so let's get into it. First of all, how long have you been in this role?
A year and a half.
Year and
a year
a
and a half. It went by really, really quickly. I joined in the pandemic, and it went by very, very quickly.
And you made a decision to join, from what I've read, based on really the vision and the values. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was funny. I had literally just joined MAC Cosmetics. I was Chief Marketing Officer for MAC. And had only been in the role about 7 months when I got the call from Amazon. And I was like, did you not see? I just started a new job. I was like, no, thank you. I'm actually loving this job. And as all great recruiters go, he was like, how about this? Talk to the CEO, see how you feel. And if you're not interested, we'll leave you alone. But if after that you think you may want in, then let's do this. And I was like, okay. And so I talked to Mike Hopkins, who's the CEO for Prime Video and Studios, and my husband's actually here, so he can keep me honest on this. He came out, he was like, who were you talking to? Because I was laughing, and the chemistry was so good, and he was like, you're leaving, aren't you? I was like, yes. And we just had really great chemistry, and he talked about the vision for Prime Video and what we were trying to achieve, and I got totally sold on that, and I wanted to be part of the team that built that future. Because it's been that in the last year and a half. We've acquired the rights to stream Thursday Night Football, which is the only time a streamer's ever done that.
Yeah, that's a big
in
deal.
that same year and a half, we've talked about, we're in regulatory review right now for the acquisition of MGM. I mean, literally, the ambition is so big and it's so significant, and so being a part of the team that's building that is pretty cool.
So that's part of what I wanted to ask you next, because I mean, with the word Amazon comes that endless ambition and defining spaces that were previously completely unknown.
Yeah.
So you come in with Prime, obviously big, you loved the vision. What about the balance and the weight of that? I mean, this is a company and a brand that you were joining to establish Prime Video, and it had a high bar.
Yeah, it's really cool, because I talk to my team all the time, and I was like, Amazon's the first company where the resources have matched my ambition.
Yeah.
Because I've always been in places, and we can relate to that, right? Where you have the ambition, but they're like, think smaller, cheaper, a lot smaller. And it's just like, oh, what if we did 50% of that or 10% of that? And Amazon is you know, it is what it is today because it basically says like one of our leadership principles is think big. And we're okay to be misunderstood for long periods of time. So even if in the short term, it doesn't make money, in the short term, we look in 5, 10-year horizons and we'll make a decision today that may seem crazy, because we believe it will pay off in the long term. And we keep surprising ourselves because it actually ends up paying off shorter than we thought, but we are willing to lean in if it pays off in the long term. But if you, another leadership principle is are right a lot. If you are right a lot and you're willing to lean into that, we actually find that a lot of those things will pay off sooner than we thought. And so they end up being really, really good decisions. So to have the ambition and go, wouldn't it be cool if we did X? And to have an organization be like, that is actually really cool. Let's try it. Let's do it. It's so liberating for a creative person. It's so liberating for anybody who has ambition. And it feels really good to be a part of a team that lives and works like that.
Do you put markers on that? So you're gonna lean in, you don't know, but are you setting measurement indicators? Are you giving yourself, even on the longer
Have
horizons,
you met
some
Amazon?
check-ins? Yeah.
KPIs, we live by those. We are a data-driven organization by far. So markers, for sure.
Yeah.
And
so when you put the big idea on the table, are you putting them on with those parameters right there from day one?
Yeah, we're putting it with a doc. We have a 6-pager that goes right along with that big ambition. So it's not just like a pie in the sky. It's like, I really think that this is a future that could exist. And so we do what we call a PRFAQ, which is basically like you write the headline for what you expect the future to look like when that happens. And if you write the article like you think it would happen in 2 years or 3 years, and we read that article and we go, that's pretty awesome. And then we work backwards from that to create a reality that doesn't exist. And that's what's really cool about it. Because if your team comes and says, I have this really, really big idea, you're like, awesome, write a PRFAQ. Then they go off, and that's when they do all the analysis, and they imagine that they're in a world 2, 5, 7, 10 years from now, when it's actually happened, and all the things that need to be true for that to happen, they put it in a doc, we read it, we approve it, and we go.
That's awesome. Okay, so now you have the whole creator side of your job, which I'm fascinated by, because even you look at that video, and the content is so varied. It's all so exciting. You have a massive powerhouse brand. Amazon Prime Video in itself, you're establishing this real personality and brand DNA to, but you have to match it to creators of every type. Talk about that process a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I love about what makes Amazon Amazon and what makes Prime Video is we are part of the DNA of that. And so we say we are the everything store. And so that means that we are a place that really welcomes creators from all backgrounds who want to tell diverse stories, and not just diverse in terms of ethnicity, but diverse in terms of diversity, like true innovation in the way that stories are told, in the types of stories that are told. What that means for us as marketers is the people we get to work with are just like mind-blowing. Like for those of you who are in the boys panel, you talked to like an Eric Kripke, and his vision and what he's created that didn't exist before of soups who are actually like power hungry, and like that's a very different story to like for those of you who are gonna experience Lizzo, who like you're gonna talk to about her show that really celebrates what it's like to be a big girl who loves to dance and who wants to show the world her full confidence. Like that, the storytelling is so varied and it all lives on the same platform. And it's really talking to those creators and saying, why did you create this? And they get to give you their baby after they've slaved on it for like 2 years and 3 years. And as marketers, we have to then take that and deliver on the vision that they originally had in their mind when they started that journey, and being really good stewards to that, and then leveraging that to really drive Prime Videos and all the, Prime Video and all the KPIs that we have that we need to deliver against. That full journey from concept all the way to launch and delivering on the vision, the financial vision for it, the creative vision for it, that's what makes the job like really, really exciting.
And the sharing, so you promote and create you promote the content that the creators have created. Tell me about the sharing part of it. What role does that play, and was there ever a moment where you were surprised by where certain content went that you hadn't seen it coming?
Oh, that's a great question. It happens all the time, right? Because you start off going, we think there's something here, and it's art and science. So if I think of our marketing process, part of it comes from talking to the creators and saying, like, what's your vision? And we do this like 2 years in advance. So while the show is still being created, before it's being created, we'll meet with, whether it's, Donald Glover, we're working on a title with him right now, or it's Amy Sherman Palladino and Maisel, to be like, okay, what's this season about? Like, what are you looking to create? And so you start that conversation earlier. And then in that 2-year time period, you're also doing a ton of research, right? So we are using research with humans, we're talking to real humans, we're doing screenings and getting their thoughts on that. And then we're also leveraging AI. And so we have AI that we can feed the scripts into, and the AI will basically tell us what they believe the hooks are. So we have science that tells us that, and then we have real humans that tell us that. And then our job as marketers is to go, okay, I have this from science, and I have this from humans, and I'm gonna put that together in this bubble and kind of pull out from it what I believe it's going to be. And we build a campaign out of that we launch into the world. But the beauty of doing it in a very data-based place, like streaming, is we have a ton of data once it actually launches, right, based on the personalization. And we have the opportunity to continue to pivot in the art, to pivot in the assets, to pivot in the way that we spend our money, so we can basically, based on first-party data, we can see how it's performing in real life and move money from one media channel to another. And so, there are a lot of surprises that, come along the way. And you were like, I thought this was for this audience, but actually, we launched it in 5 different channels, and we see that it's really taking off here. Or when we launch a new title, we'll launch it with a number of different assets on the app at the same time, and then we leverage the algorithm to personalize it. And we'll find that we thought this was the key art, but actually, this art is what is driving the conversion on platform. And we'll create an entire kind of 360 campaign based on what we see working in real time. And that's all happening over launch weekend. So we just launched Upload, and I'm looking at the real-time reports throughout the weekend. The team's looking at the real-time reports. And based on all the data that's coming, the team's working over the weekend to optimize that so that we can deliver the biggest launch weekend that we can for the show. So we can totally geek out about this. So I'll stop talking. We can move on to the next one.
You must have a hugely varied customer base.
Oh my God. Yeah, when you think Prime, because we're, at the end of the day, we're a membership program, and we believe we're the most valuable, I like to say invaluable membership program in the world. And so because our membership base comes from the Prime base, it really, Amazon's the everything store, it's everybody. And I love that because we live in a culture right now that is so polarized. And I like to think that when you come into Prime Video, that polarization is over because everybody's welcome here. And everybody can find their thing here. And we actually celebrate that. We actually love that we have everyone and that we create for everyone. And there's such joy and liberation within that.
How does that then lead to being a team leader? How you staff your team, the skill sets, but also where you all are, where you're all located, so you have the varied perspectives and skill sets internally as well. What's your team building point of view?
Yeah. I love that question because I fundamentally believe that the team that you have should reflect the community that you serve. And there should be a very linear relationship between those two so that when you are making, because you will make data decisions, but you will also make a lot of decisions based on intuition. I talked to you about the fact that we have the art and the science and it all gets mixed up together, and you have a leader that's making the choice, and I have leaders on the team who are making those choices every day. And so it's so important that for a lot of those decisions, you have people that are from the community who can voice the value within that. We talked about the fact that last year, Coming to America, for example, was the only movie that topped the Nielsen streaming charts since it was since they started measuring streaming. Coming to America was the only movie that debuted consecutively in the #1 position. And the only reason why we were able to do that is because you had people from the Black community that were on the team, and they were like, let me tell, I know you think you know this movie, but let me tell you what this movie means to the Black community, and let me tell you what the marketing for this movie needs to look like to the Black community. And if you do that well, and even take back to when we bought the rights to do the movie, like in that greenlight meeting, being able to say, we believe this is going to be really big because of how special this movie is to the Black community, and that means a lot. And then you take that through to the marketing of the show and how that ended up coming to life for customers, and then the business impact of that being #1 in Nielsen for multiple weeks. That happens because you have people on the team who can be the voice for the community and allow you to serve that community in a way that is resonant. And it benefits the company and the brand because you get acquisition, you get subscribers out of that because you talk to them in a language that resonates with them.
So you mentioned the football move. What are you excited about for that? Do you think there's to your point about the skill sets and the expertise on the team, how are you approaching that?
Yeah, oh my God. So football, it's funny, for those of you who kind of geek out on what people are watching, if you look at the ratings, for what America watches, it's like football. It's literally like #1 through 10, NFL. And so to be the only streamer that's going to have an NFL package exclusively, that's huge for us. And so we're really excited about that. And so we have a team that's working on that are hardcore football fans, that are hardcore NFL fans. They really get the culture. They really get what it's all about. And so to have that team be the team that's going to be creating all the communication that you're going to see for it, we're super excited, and we think it's going to be major for our platform. And it's launching the same month as Lord of the Rings, which is the biggest IP outside of the Bible. So like September is like a major month for us. It's like we're so excited. So yeah, it's gonna be a really great year. We're really excited.
So the next steps that you have, if you're thinking about what's going to be the biggest, you get past, you launch football, you do the next wave. Do you see? You probably already know because you said it's a 2 or 3 year arc.
Yeah.
Do you have ideas of what might be the next kind of surprise sleeper hit in terms of show or type of content?
Oh, it's so funny. Like, speaking of sleeper hits, we in January launched Reacher, and it's been so incredible. So we just got the Nielsen reports, and it debuted at #1, Reacher, and that's one of those where I think people were really surprised by that. But yeah, I think we have a lot of shows coming up that we're super excited about. Like I said, Upload comes back this weekend. We're super excited about that. It's our #1 half-hour comedy show, and we're excited to bring that back to customers. This month, we also had The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel come back for season 4 for those Maisel fans. Yeah, there you go. That's like one of my favorite shows on Prime Video. We have The Boys season 4 that comes back in the summer. We're so excited about that. Last year we had Chris Pratt we had Chris Pratt for Tomorrow War. We have Terminal List with Chris Pratt, July 4th weekend. That's going to be bonkers. And then I talked to you about September. We're going to have Lord of the Rings, as well as Thursday Night Football. We have Lizzo's Watch Out for the Big Girls, which is going to be like so much fun. But yeah, like if I think through our year and just a lot of the shows that we have coming out. It's a lot of really, really, really great shows.
Do you have control over the pacing? Like, how long was it between 3 and 4 of Mrs. Maisel? And if not, do you have different marketing tactics if there's been longer windows between?
Yeah, sometimes you have control, sometimes COVID has control. So, I think you have really great plans, and then either through the COVID complications, and that really sometimes delays production. And so there are some situations where you do have to launch later than normal because of COVID. We had to launch later, and then you pivot and you figure it out and you pivot, and we've been very comfortable doing that. And then there are also other times when we get to go into market and acquire. And so you have a lot of theatricals, for example, who don't feel comfortable going to the movie theater, and we get to acquire some of those movies to show on platform, and we'll have quite a few of those globally as well. And so in those cases, my poor team will acquire something, and then like in 2 to 3 months, we have to have it on platform, ready to go, big mega campaign, all in like 2 to 3 months. And in other cases, we have 2 to 3, if it's one that we develop like Terminal List, like The Lord of the Rings, we'll have 2, 3, 4 years to actually develop it, and we do the entire thing and work hand in hand with the creators like over that long period of time. And you have to have a team and an infrastructure that can either pull something together in 2 to 3 months because it's an acquisition, or work hand in hand with the creator for 3 to 4 years, and we have to be able to do both and do both well.
And I would guess that, like you're going to want to attract a team for whom that variety is inspiring and not exhausting.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So thinking about that, and then we've got questions coming in, which I'll go to next. So all the volatility going on, you have a platform and content that requires a lot of agility and also can be volatile. How do you keep your team motivated every day?
That's a great question. That's a really, really great question. I think, first of all, they have to love that level of change.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any of you have ever been through the Amazon hiring process, but it takes a special person to be able to work at Amazon. And so that our recruiting process kind of helps with that. You go through a loop of like 8 of your closest friends kind of interviewing you, and then 8 people get together and go, yeah, we think they're culture fit at Amazon. So I think one is attracting people who love the ambition, who love the agility and the flexibility, and just like want to go out there and serve customers and do whatever is possible to serve customers. And that's not everybody, and we don't kid ourselves that that's everybody, but for those who have that makeup, this is actually fun for them.
Yeah.
They actually love the challenge of that. We were talking about that last night, where we had, for example, a plan to have an event in one location, and the winds here were 45 miles per hour, and we had to change location. And this team, my incredible team, literally went restaurant to restaurant, found a restaurant that they like, told the guy, this is good, we're moving an event over, rented U-Haul trucks, moved all the things over. Like, those are the kinds of people that work at Amazon. They just make things happen. And so you just watch them like create things out of nothing, and it's actually a really beautiful thing to watch. So I would say one, like, we attract a certain type of person, so that's really important. And then the second is, if you attract a team that really wants to serve the customer, and works back from the customer always, that helps you deal with a lot of that. So I think that's really important, and that's a huge part of the Amazonian of it all. And then the third thing is staying really plugged in to your team. So we start all our weekly meetings with a check-in. And I learned this from a previous role where you ask, like, how are you doing? And you're not allowed to use the word good because good is a crutch word. Because everybody's like, I'm good, all good. And like, no, you can't use the word good. And once you tell people they can't use the word good, you really get a sense for how they're doing. They're like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm tired, I'm excited, I'm joyous. Like, then they start using other words. And then as a leader, you can use that as a code word to figure out where where you need to plug in. So at first it ends up being kind of like a fun thing that happens like in the meeting, but then it's what happens after the meeting that's important, because you're like, you said you were overwhelmed. Do you need extra help? Do we need to get you freelance work? Do you need this other leader to partner with you? Then you can follow up afterwards and make sure that
and
you
the
give them.
follow-up is everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that's when you make sure that you give them the support that they need, or they go, I'm overwhelmed, but it's okay because it's only going to last for 2 weeks, that I'm good with that. And some people are that, and you have to be comfortable with that. But I think that check-in is actually really, really important. And that's what allows you to continue to kind of flex your leadership style for where your team is. And then we have some other kind of cultural things. So we have a typical like all hands, but then monthly we also have a kiki, or we call it a kiki. And that's just like a super informal, like we just get together and have fun. And they get to like learn from each other and just literally just like kiki together. And we did that even in the pandemic. We did it, virtually, and we're excited like once everybody's back in the office to do that in person as well. And so that allows us to connect with each other as humans, not just as colleagues.
Well, I can tell why you were attracted to this job. It sounds phenomenal. One of our questions, you do have competitors out there.
Yeah.
All this amazing stuff
Hi,
you do.
competitors.
You've got.
We love you too. Actually, I should say this. One of the things that's special about Prime Video, we're actually comfortable with competition because on our platform, you see our content, but then you can also subscribe to all of our competition on our app.
Yeah.
And so we love competition. We're like, you can sign up for competitors on our app. So you can sign up for Showtime, you can sign up for Stars, like all of that is available on our app, or you can watch our stuff. And so for us, like it's all the same. It's all in service of the customer. So if the customer wants to watch your show, we're totally cool with that.
And then you get all that data too. All right, we might get one more in, but I want to ask this one.
Fun times.
How does your team connect with the other Amazon brands?
Yes, so I mean, part of why our new tagline is "See Where It Takes You" is part of what makes us really different. Is that we believe that we are the streamer where entertainment doesn't just stop at the credits, and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to, because with us, you have the opportunity for the entertainment experience to be so much more immersive. Whether it's from a music perspective, you love the soundtrack, awesome. Like we have Amazon Music, you can figure out who sang it. You can like really like download the entire soundtrack if you want. You love so it's making the cut. You love the outfit. And you want to be able to buy it, you can buy it. And it's available for you to shop. And so you can go deeper and immerse in the experience that way. We have a technology called X-Ray because of IMDb that allows you at a click to figure out like who's in the scene.
I love that.
Isn't it good?
I'm all about that.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
And you're like, I love this actor. Like what else have they done? And at one click, you can figure out all the other things that they've done. And because we have this one app, you can go on to watch other things they've done, whether it was created by us or not.
Yeah.
And so the way that we've orchestrated and created this experience, you get to go on the entertainment journey that you choose. And because of the Amazon family, we can take that journey to a lot of different places. And we find that our customers love that. Like our customers go deep, and we attract people that like to go deep. And so that's part of what makes us really special.
So that recruiter that called you was so right.
I guess so. A year and a half, it's been fun.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you all.